Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. Heat and humidity and mosquitoes. That is summer in East Tennessee. You can't do much about the weather, but Southeast Termite and Pest Control can protect your home, yard, and family from mosquitoes. They got all kinds of plans and treatment plans to choose from. They also have great treatment plans for ants, which are out in full force this summer. They got great treatment plans for bees. If you're dealing with bees, Southeast Termite and Pest Control, folks, I use them at my home. You should use them at your home. setermite.com, southeasttermite.com, I'm sorry. All right, a few weeks ago, David Ubben of The Athletic was on our show, and afterwards he said, hey, I'm doing a story on what ifs, and here are the ones I've got. And then we kept him here for 15 minutes throwing out more, and it's like, what about that? What about this? So he took those and did his own research and wound up with a list of 10 what ifs for the last decade. He went the last decade. I want to step through these quickly. Things that, what if this had happened at Tennessee? Would things be better, worse, that kind of a deal? And I'll get you guys to comment on each of these. I just think it's interesting here as we head toward another summer to look back and say, boy, Tennessee's had some bad breaks here or there, or here and there. First one he had was, what if Tennessee beats LSU in 2007 in the SEC title game? Because remember, the next year was when Fulmer had his second losing season in 4 years and got the ouster. They lost a close one to LSU in 07. What if they win against LSU?
John, I think if they win against LSU in that game, Philip Fulmer's the head coach at Tennessee probably for 4 or 5 more years. He would have built up more equity by winning the title. Also in 2008, he had the number 6 recruiting class in the country that included Taj Boyd at quarterback, Bryce Petty at quarterback, Morgan Moses, an offensive lineman I think still in the NFL. And he said he was going to get Marlon Brown, the receiver from Memphis. I think he'd have been there for 4 or 5 more years.
Yeah. The next one he had was, what if Pete Carroll stays at Southern Cal? I'll take that one. The interesting thing there is, I mean, he had said time and again he was going to stay at USC, and then the NCAA came calling. When Kiffin is here, he'd been at USC. That was his dream job. Not only does the job come open with the Seahawks and the NCAA swoop down on USC and Carroll leave, but you also had to have 6 other guys. Kiffin was 7th on the USC list. They had Jeff Fisher turned them down. They went through a whole streak of USC guys who said, nope, no thanks, don't want it, nope, nope, nope. And it finally fell all the way to Kiffin to say, okay, I'll take it. What if Pete Carroll stays there? I think Lane Kiffin is still so juvenile he wouldn't have worked out. I don't think he's going to work out for him at FAU either. But I just don't think he's prepared enough to move it forward. I don't know. There are a lot of people who say, well, you'd have wound up on probation. I don't know. But I don't know if I'll go that far. He had a bunch of secondary violations. It was ridiculous, but it was secondary. I don't think he would have been successful long term here, though. I just don't think his mouth would have allowed him to grow and develop and age here at Tennessee. The third one they had, that David had, was if UT doesn't panic post-Kiffin and hire Derek Dooley. What if they had gone with an interim? Something we said at the time. Chuck,
yeah, I mean, we talked about that. And isn't this a perfect example of how so many of Tennessee's are like self-inflicted problems and issues? You had the university plane on the tarmac in Ruston, Louisiana, offering the job to Derek Dooley. At the same time, Kippy Brown is on campus interviewing him for the job, he thinks.
A clearly sham interview with Mike
Exactly. I mean, why not do the interim 1-year thing and see how that goes? Why do you hire a coach with a losing record?
Not to mention, you also take your time. That was in January, so you understand the panic, but I don't believe in panic. What's the least panicky thing to do? We're going to sacrifice the next year, maybe, by keeping an interim. But that gives us an entire year to be ahead of the pack and to make our decision and to find the right guy. That is terrible. That's one where the brakes went against you, and then you poured salt in your own wound.
You botched it, You botched
it. The fourth one, what if Derek Dooley hires Lance Thompson to be his defensive coordinator instead of Sal Sunseri?
I think it's a world of difference because I don't think there's any question that Sunseri was overwhelmed. And I don't know how much Derek Dooley indeed wanted Sal Sunseri to be that guy.
That's right.
But if it is Lance Thompson, you have somebody who's incredibly familiar with the personnel already, somebody who's very comfortable in that position having held it before, and as Daniel Hood has described it, Sunseri didn't come in with just a ridiculous, overwhelming amount of choices, different options, all from the same place. So many different calls. It was like trying to drink from a fire hose. So I think Tennessee would have been much better. There might have still been issues, but I think Tennessee would have been much better.
And the problem is you would have kept Derek Dooley.
And they're switching from a 4-3 to a 3-4 at a pivotal year for Derek Dooley. Knowing that it's hard that first year you switch. Huh?
You look back at the offense that Jim Chaney put on the field that year. If their defense is even halfway decent, there's a chance Dooley survives. Whether that's good or bad long term, I don't know, but there was a chance he would have survived. The last one, what if Tennessee had hired Charlie Strong? They had him. And then Dave Hart said, well, we'll talk tomorrow, and he didn't bring him back to Knoxville. The Louisville AD, Tom Jurich, went back in and got him to stay. What if they had brought Charlie Strong down? David also put in there, or hired John Gruden and not had to go to Butch Jones. Mike Strange.
Well, I don't think Charlie Strong is a big upgrade over Butch Jones. You look what he did he had one more good year at Louisville, a great year. Then he went to Texas and bombed. He's been in South Florida 2 years. He had a great year and then a 7-6. So I just so far don't see him as a big upgrade over Butch Jones. And John Gruden wasn't going to happen. Don't think it's ever going to happen. And you know, he hadn't set the world on fire
In Oakland
either.
Yeah, I wouldn't have included John Gruden on the what if list. I just don't think it was real.
And he himself says if he had been a college coach, he'd have his program under the NCAA jail.
Right, that's right. All right, when we come back, we'll finish up David's list, and then we've got some more of our own. We've got a couple of SEC questions before Media Days, much more football to come here on the Sports Source. Come on back and join us.